Hello everyone and welcome to aga-cad's webinar, The Best Way to Model SIP Panels in Revit. First of all, I will make a short overview of aga-cad and product options, then we'll jump right into the live demonstration, talk about the takeaways, and we'll have a Q&A session. So during the webinar, don't hesitate to write your questions in the GoToWebinar dialog under questions, and in the end, I will try to answer them. And now I can introduce myself. My name is Eve and I am a BIM application engineer at aga-cad. I have a bachelor's degree in architecture and worked for several years in that field. My specialization today is related to the wood framing solutions, and besides this, I'm able to define the requirements of software custom adaptation and to implement tailor-made workflows. As a company, aga-cad creates applications for Autodesk Revit based on the needs of world's leading BIM practitioners. Our goal is to help Revit users eliminate tasks that do not create value and let them focus on what is actually important. We've developed the widest range of true BIM software in the world for Revit professionals, covering wood and metal framing, precast concrete design, and MEP system design. And by the way, we're currently running a promotion where almost all BIM solutions can be purchased from 30 to 50% off until Christmas, including the product I will be presenting in more detail during this webinar. So today I'm going to talk about our BIM solution called Wood Framing SIPs. It makes wood framing with structural insulated panels. So what we'll cover in this webinar: using predefined configurations to create SIP panels for walls, floors, and roofs according to rules you've created, saving time on repetitive procedures, updating several aspects of the model simultaneously, and automating shop drawings and cut lists. And we will end up with a SIP panel project framed automatically, as well as shop drawings generated. And now I will open the Revit project. So here you can see a project that I previously created in Revit. It's created out of basic Revit's walls, floors, and roofs, with openings added. And now during this webinar, I'm going to automatically create structural framing elements with SIP panels in this whole building. You will see how fast everything is once we already have prepared our own company standards and so on. So preparing the standards, it's just a one-time process, and once you have them, it's just a few clicks. You basically select all of the walls, all of the floors and the roofs, and frame them. So here I opened another view where all of the walls and floors and roofs are transparent. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to select all of the walls, and I'm going to use frame wall. So now the tool will distribute all structural framing elements and split parts for 3 layers. So 2 OSB boards and 1 insulation layer automatically. And that's it. You can see that the walls are framed, and I will show you what was done right now. So I have exterior OSB boards. I also have them on the interior side, and in this view you can see the structural framing elements and the insulation between them. So as you can see, once we already have the rules prepared, and in those rules we can say that a smaller opening needs to be framed in one way, and for the larger opening maybe I want to have king studs, or maybe I want to add my layout of the SIP panels from the start of the wall, or from the end of the wall, or from the middle. It's up to you. So when those rules are created, it's just one click for all of the walls, and you can see that the SIP panels together with the structural framing elements are generated automatically. And completely the same principle applies to the floors and to the roofs. So now I'll select both of these floors, click on frame floor, and that's it. Now the software will frame these floors automatically. You can see that it works in the same manner as the Wall Plus tool. All of the elements are distributed and the parts are split. Okay, and finally the roof. So my roof is multi-sided, and that means that I need to split the roof to have a separate roof for each slope. And with the software, I can do that automatically. So I will just use split or update roof panels, select the roof, and that's it. The software automatically created a separate roof, as you can see, on each slope. So now I will select these roofs and I will click on frame roof. And again, the same thing will be done. My roofs will be framed automatically, structural framing elements will be distributed, as well as parts will be split for 3 layers in total, 2 OSB boards and 1 insulation board between them. So our tools automate the tasks that can be done in Revit manually. You can imagine how much time it would take you to design SIP panels with framing elements and 3 layers of parts in Revit. But with our tools, once you have your standards prepared, it's just a few clicks, and these standards can be used from project to project. Creating them, it's just a one-time process. And that's not all. So now when the elements are distributed by the configurations, I can slightly modify the model. Okay, so now I can see, for example, that I really want to align these elements between the walls, floors, and roofs. So I will go in and use align elements, and I will align, let's say, my walls with the element from the floor. And you will see that elements inside the whole wall will be aligned. Okay, and again I will use align studs with element. So I will align this second floor wall. Okay, and that's it. They're also aligned, and you can see that the insulation parts as well as OSB boards were, of course, updated. So now the opening is framed a little bit differently, and you can see that the parts are correct based on the modification that I just made. And also I will align the studs from this wall. Okay, and now I will align this wall. Also, maybe let's align these. And finally, the roof. So again, I will open align elements in the roof, and I will first of all align my roof with the wall that I've previously aligned with the floor. And now I will align this roof slope with that one. Okay, and now once everything is aligned, I can continue with the roof. So you can see that for the wall, I framed this beam pocket because I want to add the ridge now. And of course, I can add the ridge automatically. I will also frame roof parts to add these horizontal elements on the top and on the bottom of the parts. And I will add hip and valley rafters automatically. So first of all, I will use insert ridge and select any element from the roof. I will also select a configuration where I predefine what kind of ridge type do I want to add. And that is it. The ridge is added, and I can also open a section view where you can see that it's added very accurately. It's a bottom support ridge, and it supports the SIP panels of the roof. And here also you can see another interesting situation where I have this wall, and I'm going to attach this wall to the roof. So you can see that in this situation, I had this horizontal top plate on my wall that is supporting the roof panel. But in this situation, let's say that I want my top plate to be rotated. And now I have attached it to the roof, so I can select this wall, click on frame wall, and in the configuration, I already set that I want to automatically rotate the top plates if the wall is attached to the roof. And you can see that I have another situation that was generated completely automatically. Okay, and now let's continue with the roof. As I mentioned, we can also add hip and valley rafters automatically. So I will use insert all hip and valley rafters. And again, I will just select the roof, choose the configuration, and the software in 1 second added hip rafters. And finally, I want to frame my roof panels. So I am going to select all of the parts by layer automatically, so these insulation parts, and use frame roof. So now you will see that the tool will automatically frame each part of my roof by adding horizontal elements on the top and on the bottom of the panel. And that's it. I can quickly show you the section view. Let's see. Yeah, so you can see that on this side I framed these parts. So these elements are again very accurate. They adapt to the slope of the roof, and that means that the software is really flexible and you can create anything based on your own configurations. Okay, so let's say that we're done with the modeling part, so now you can move on to the documentation. Accuracy of BIM data delivers accurate material quantities, part lists, and schedules, and documentation with wood framing allows for reduction of error and fully automates tedious tasks like views, tags, schedules, dimension, title blocks, and sheets. But before that, we are going to number all elements. Filling in project-wide parameters automatically can greatly enhance workflow by saving time and bringing in a sense of clarity to the project. So I will show an example with the walls. First of all, I will number the walls, and in 1 second, the tool filled in the mark parameter value for all of the walls in my project. And of course, you can modify the rules how the walls are numbered. If you wouldn't have our software in Revit, you would have to manually number each wall. And that does not sound so bad, but when we consider that we also would have to number all elements manually in the project, that becomes painful because, again, if anything changes, we have to renumber, we have to remember to renumber them correctly, and so on. But with our software, I can just use number elements, and then I can use number parts. And these functions will number structural framing elements as well as part category elements, so insulation and 2 OSB boards in my project, you see, in a couple of seconds. So now whenever I select an element in the project, you can see that all of this information was filled in automatically for parts. So this part knows that it's in the wall number 14. Also, all structural framing elements. This element knows that it's a vertical stud in wall number 14, the member cut length is here, and so on. So all of that is done automatically for you in just a couple of seconds. And now, once the elements are numbered, we can use all information that we created automatically. So the model, information from the model, the geometry, and also the information that we filled in with the number elements command to create the shop drawings automatically. So the process is automated from modeling to documentation. Okay, so now, very quick example. I will open part assembly menu and I will use create part assembly. I will select this part that is a little more interesting. It's around the opening. And now you will see that the tool will create the shop drawings for this part automatically. So let's take a look. What was created in just a couple of seconds? I have a 3D view generated, an assembly back view. And in this back view, I can see the mark of the internal panel you see in the wall number 14. So our numbering values are being used in the shop drawings, and also you can see that everything is automatically dimensioned. And have in mind that I'm just showing you how fast everything works once we already have the rules, but you can create them based on your own standards. It's really flexible, only one time, and use them from project to project. And here we can see in this front view the external panel, and in the plan detail view I can see all of the SIP panel parts numbered. Everything is dimensioned according to the rules that I've created. This is a section view, and now in the sheet I can create a composition myself. So I can add a 3D view, I can add an assembly back view and an assembly front view, and also let's say a plan detail view, a detail section view, and of course the schedules. So I want my assembly material takeoff and the part list. So you can see that in these schedules all elements are calculated and you can modify them. You can add or remove more parameters. So everything that you can see here is customizable. Don't worry about that. And the great thing right now is that this is the first assembly in my project, right? So now I can go back to the drawing configuration and I can see that I want to use this as a template for the future. So that means that I will no longer have to create these sheets manually by dragging and dropping the views. Now I can basically select all of the wall panels in my project and create shop drawings for them in a single click. So I will show an example with one wall, but have in mind that you can just create them for the whole project. So part assembly menu. Yeah, you can see you can select parts in project. I will select them in wall. Let's say these. all of these parts, and I will just click on Create Part Assembly. So now the tool will create assemblies for all of these parts that I've selected, and each of these will have a sheet created with the same title block, and the views will be automatically added to the sheet using the same layout as I've created previously. And the same principle applies to the floors and to the roofs. So once you've created the first assembly, other ones are generated automatically. Other sheets. And here you can see everything is done. All of these new assemblies, they have their shop drawings created and placed in the exact same locations. So again, I could continue with the roof and with the floor. Okay, so I hope you were able to see how greatly we can benefit from automating the process from design to documentation. All configurations or rules based on which elements were distributed, numbered, and documented need to be created only one time, and you can use them in the future projects. And if in any stage, let's say even now when I've created the shop drawings, I need to modify something, I don't have to worry about it because it's really fast. I can modify something automatically, I can just renumber automatically and update the shop drawings with all of the dimensions and schedules and so on. So that is what I want to show you right now. You're not left with the result that you have after distributing everything by the configuration. It's very flexible because you have the ability to modify the project in any design stage, and you have automated updates, and that will save you vast amounts of time, and it will help you to avoid human errors. So let's take a look how we can modify the frames. I will show you just a few examples, but have in mind that it all depends on your situation. Each time we would help you to find the best way how to modify the frames according to your own situation. So in the first scenario, let's say that the architectural model changes. So maybe I have another opening added in the project, or another opening is moved, or the wall became longer or shorter or anything like that, and the frame is no longer correct based on the changes. So now I can use update frame, and the tool will update the frame and the installation parts as well as OSB boards according to the changes made in the architectural model. Okay, and that's it. You can see that everything was updated. So I have moved an opening, I have another one, all of the parts are split correctly, and I don't have to worry about that. Also, anytime we can add additional elements. So in this situation, let's say I have this floor joist, and maybe I want to add a wall stud right here, right under this joist. So I can do that by using add or modify elements. I will add an additional stud from the stud that I selected to the right side, and I can enter a distance for my stud right here, and I will keep the same element, click on OK, and that's it. You will see that an additional stud will be added. So in this situation, you saw that I added a physical element, so a structural framing element, a stud, to the wall to create two SIP panels, to basically split them. But I have another situation where you can see these floor SIP panels, and let's say that some of them are too long and I want to add an additional split, but I don't necessarily want to add a physical element between these panels. So maybe I just want to add an additional split throughout the whole floor or only throughout the panels that I need. So I will open another view with the installation where I will show you that, let's say I want to split these three SIP panels that are the longest in my model. Okay, so I will open add or modify elements, and in this case, I will choose to add a bridging, nogging, and blocking. I will select two joists between which the element will be added, and this time, instead of selecting a physical element like a plate or a stud, instead of doing that, I will select an invisible element that will simply split the panels, because that is what I need in this situation. Okay? And also, I will select a line-based element to predefine the location of the split. So let's see that here. You can see that I have a wall in the first level, and let's say I want this wall to support the panels that are going to be split. So I will select this wall, and you can see that the tool automatically calculated the offset from the base. And now when I will click on OK, you will see that the panels will be split right above that wall in the first level. Okay, so you can see that the panels were split in the location that I chose, and they're split right above that wall in the first level. So I can also open this view, so you can see that this is the wall in the first level, and these are the panels that were split. So all of the boards and the insulation parts were split in the location that was calculated automatically. And also we can do a lot more things, like for example, we can modify instances of the configuration. So maybe I don't like the spacing of this roof slope. Maybe I want to make the spacing centered, to have this panel in the center. So I can modify the instance of this configuration, and let's say I will show a simple example. So in this situation, I will modify the spacing, the layout. I will add the spacing in the center instead of the start. And that's it. That is how easy it is to update or modify the frames. Okay, so I hope you saw that it's really flexible at modifying the elements, so you're not stuck, you're not limited to what you have after framing everything by the configurations. And to prove this to you even more, I have prepared another example with a slightly different situation. So in this example, in this first one, you can see that the walls have a horizontal top plate and they support the panels of the roofs like so. But in this other example, I want to show you that we can create many different rules based on different standards. So I will select these two walls and click on Frame Wall. So now I will use a different configuration where I added trapezoid top plates to support the roof. Okay, so you can see that in this example, my walls have these trapezoid top plates, and I can open a section view where you will see that everything is very accurate. They support the roof, they adapt to the slope of the roof. Okay, and now let's go back to this view. And now I will frame the roof. So again, before framing the roof, I will very quickly split and update the roof panels, so they will be split automatically, and then I will just select the roofs, click on Frame Roof, and that's it. The roofs will be framed using a different configuration. Okay, so you can see that in this situation, I have this type of roof end and wall plates, whereas in that previous situation, I have a different end result. So the software is really flexible and you can create your own rules based on your own standards. You can have as many rules as you need. Okay, and also another great thing is that you can frame other layers if you need them as well. So you can frame additional layers like horizontal nailers and sidings and roofing or whatever you need. So we can frame all of the layers at once, but for presentation purposes, I want to show you one by one. So first of all, let's see, I will add the nailers to this wall, and the software will distribute vertical and horizontal nailers to this wall automatically. Yeah, and you can see that they're added. And then also, let's say that I will add the siding. So it's up to you. You can choose what kind of layers, if you need them, you can frame. And that's it. So of course, you can also modify the framing of these layers as well. And as I mentioned, I could just select the whole wall and use frame additional layers, and the tool will distribute all elements that are assigned in the wall link to this wall. So all vertical nailers, horizontal nailers, and vertical siding. Okay, so you can see that we can create multi-layer wall frames. And also, I will select this roof and show you that the same principle applies to the floors and to the roofs as well. Add buttons, let's say, and I will add a batten layer to this roof. And of course, all of these elements can also be automatically numbered, tagged, and calculated. They can be present in the shop drawings. They can be dimensioned. So on that note, I want to show you another way how we can create shop drawings. So as you may know, it's impossible to have an assembly inside another assembly in Revit. So let's say if we have SIP wall panel assemblies and we need to also create elevation, section, or plan views for the whole run of multiple assemblies. Let's say for the whole wall containing all of the SIP panels, or for the whole roof containing the SIP panels. The only way to do that in Revit would be by manually creating those views and then annotating them, adding dimensions, and so on. Obviously, that takes a lot of time and can be spent on more valuable and interesting tasks, and that's where features from Smart Views can help us. So now I will open the Smart Views window. With these features, you can create any number of views in Revit with automated dimensions for selected elements without having the need to create an assembly. And then later, you can also automatically distribute them on sheets. Okay, so now I selected all of the elements from this wall frame. So all of the SIP panels, OSB boards, insulation parts, and structural framing elements. And I can use create views for multiple elements. So now I will choose the configuration that I've created previously, where I predefine what kind of views and schedules do I want to generate automatically. I will just enter a view name, and choose an element for the view direction. And that's it. Now the tool will automatically generate shop drawings for this whole wall, and that's it. We can find the result in the project browser under detail views and 3D views. So first, let's take a look at the 3D view. You can see that here we have all elements inside this wall. So we have this trapezoid top plate, we have these additional layers, and the SIP panels themselves. And here you can see that in this view, let's say for the detail section B, I can see all of the elements, I can see the section view, all of them are dimensioned. Here we can take a look at the elevation back view of our SIP wall. I chose to see only the SIP panels and the frame right here, no additional layers. And I also added tags on the interior panels. You can see because it's the back view of the wall, so it's the interior view. And what's also great about these views is that we can see surrounding elements like levels and grids. We could also see connected floors, roofs, walls, and so on. Here we have an elevation front view. Also elevation front view for the SIP panels and the frame only. So here exterior panels are tagged, you can see, in the wall number 20. Also the grids, the levels, the dimensions, everything is added automatically. And here I have tags added on the insulation parts and on the structural framing elements. So you can see this is a side stud, number 1, king stud, number 1, and so on. And here we can see our trapezoid top plate number 2. Here I have an elevation top view, a view with the nailers where horizontal nailers are the ones that are tagged and dimensioned. And you can also see that the dimensions were moved out if they intersected automatically. And that's just one tick mark in our configurations, and the tool does that automatically for you. So if you need to move this opening or modify anything in this frame, imagine how much time would you waste on recreating all of these drawings and dimensions manually, whereas with our software it's one click to just update them or recreate them if you choose to do that. So here in this view you can see all of the parts are tagged with the grids, with the vertical nailers here you can see are tagged and they are dimensioned. In this example you can see that I added an ordinate dimension type, so you can choose what kind of dimension type do you want to have in each view. And finally the view with the vertical siding. And now the Last example with the shop drawings that I want to show you that I think is also very useful, and a lot of our clients wanted this feature and we finally have it, so I'm really happy, is to create shop drawings of single elements. Because a lot of times, like for example, even in this situation, I really need to have individual shop drawings of this trapezoid top lead because it's really custom. It's not standard at all. It depends on the roof slope and I want to have separate shop drawings for it. Or maybe I just want to have separate shop drawings for all of the elements. So I have another view only with the main frame of this wall. So you can see these are the top plates, the header plates, studs, and so on. So for this example, I will just select this top plate, also this top plate, and the header plate, and use create views for elements. So now I'll create views for these single elements, separate views for all of them. And the tool will name them by the numbering values that were written in by the software automatically previously, and also they will be dimensioned and tagged automatically. And later I will distribute all of these views on sheets. Okay, and that's it. So now we can find the results also under detail views. So you can see that here I have a section view of the header plate, number 1, and a detail section A view with the length and with the depth of the header. And also here I have my top plate number 1 and top plate number 2, which is that trapezoid top plate with all of the dimensions added. Here I have its detail section. But of course, there's not much use to me of all of these views just grouped under detail views. So I want to add them on the sheets, of course. And now I can use distribute views on sheet. First of all, I will distribute the SIP walls on the sheet. So I don't have any sheets in my project just yet. So I will select all of these views that I've just created, click on place views on sheet, and the views are already placed in just 1 second by the layout rules that I've created previously. So let's take a look. I can find it under sheets. And here you can see that the views were added to the sheets automatically. So this is the installation with the frame, the top view, and all of the other views are also added to the sheets automatically. And I can do the same thing for the individual element views. So again, I can just use a different configuration, and that's the whole difference. So I will use framing elements. Again, I will select all of the views that I've just created automatically. I will use place views on sheets, and that's it. In just a couple of seconds, I have these sheets where all of those views are placed automatically. And of course, you can modify the rules, how the elements are added, and you can create them based on your own standards. Okay, so I hope that you were able to see that wood framing SIPs greatly reduces the time spent on manual tasks. Once you create the configurations according to your own standards, you can use them in the future. Also, it reduces human errors. You can create the rules that meet your needs and run them automatically. And of course, work optimization is the key to reducing stress and running a successful business. I encourage you to contact us via info@aga-cad.com to book a 15-minute personal meeting. Or if you're interested in a trial version of the software that comes together with a personal training session. Use the only time of the year to buy perpetual licenses, as normally annual licenses are available. I wish you to choose the right tools and work in Revit better and faster. Thank you everyone who attended this webinar. I hope that you found out something new and something beneficial, and I hope to see you in our future webinars.
aga-cad, building BIM together.